Ever heard of the American First Global Health Strategy? Well, I made a whole video talking about it. And I think it's crazy that we have a potential virus in the spotlight right now, which is hantavirus. It is so hot. I need to turn this on. Oh my God. Yeah, that feels so much better. And I have my companion drink with me. It's been several weeks since I made that video. And countries have signed the agreement. Some African countries have rejected it, but that means now we have a list. We have a working list, and these are the African countries that have signed on to the America First Global Health Strategy. Nigeria, my countries on that list: Uganda, Rwanda, Burkina Faso, Niger, Ivory Coast, Lesotho, Liberia, Mozambique, Cameroon, Eswatini, yeah, and so much more. So far, I haven't really gotten any solid confirmed agreement from a non-African country, but I think there is one. But whenever I try to look for articles about that country, I barely really find anything. Researching might be super difficult. So it's safe to say that right now the America First Global Health Strategy is only really popular when you're looking at the sub-Saharan African region, right? So in this video, we're going to be talking about the second half of the document, because the first video that I made only touched about 20 pages of that document. It's a 40-page document. So this video is going to be where we digest the rest of the rest of the video. Hello, I'm Antoinette. This is my little corner of the YouTube internet where I show you a little bit of my hobbies. I do yap about the topics that interest me over here. And as I said earlier, this is the second part to a previous video that I made about the America First Global Health Strategy. It's titled What Nigeria Signed with the US, if you really want to know what they signed. If you're an African, you're also welcome to this space. I am pro-African. I love my African brothers and sisters, even though they may not like me all the time. But the truth is, I had to take a break. Yeah, I took a break. When you are at the forefront of information every single day, especially since I work as a journalist, away from YouTube, it can be very overwhelming. So I took a break, a little break, and I am back now because I was trying to, avoid burnouts. So I may have to, in future, I may have to take more breaks like this or avoid touching sensitive topics often, because it really takes a lot of research, and that can make you learn certain things that would just throw your life off balance, and you're now in the bridge between knowing things and not knowing what to do with the information that you've gotten, and that kind of like can throw you into depression. And I haven't exactly reached that healing phase of my life and everything, but I most certainly do not want to die early. Like, that's something I take seriously. I have so many books to write to think about dying, but unfortunately, some powers that be that are starting wars on every single continent, yeah, they don't want me to have that dream. But guess what? I'm going to keep writing anyway. So let's get into today's topic. So I had to digitize my notes. It is on my laptop screen. I'm trying to hope I can remember it, because I tried to do what I did in the first part, which is like handwrite everything, but it became too much that I had to type to get my thoughts out there. But I did scribble some things by hand, but then later on I typed it to like put it up into perspective. So no, I'm not going to be showing you my notepad today. It's just going to be me, my drink, the mic in my hand, and us talking about the America First Global Health Strategy. So as of today, it's a Wednesday that I'm filming this video. What day is it? That's not important. But anyway, as of today, many African countries have accepted the America First Global Health Strategy. While there are some reports that 17 African countries are considering the agreement, some of which have already agreed, there are some countries that have either rejected this agreement or are stalling it in some way. For example, Namibia will likely reject it because they did turn down something quite similar. I don't know if it is the same document, but I remember Namibia being in the news for refusing for a health deal related thing like that, where they were like, oh, my citizens are not experiments, it is not welcome here. They turned it down. But when I tried to link the two, I wasn't able to find anything. And Ghana rejected it, citing some health concerns. Zambia also rejected it, and then found out that the US were trying to include that same health deal in a recent mineral deal that they were trying to sign together. But then their government had to come out and make a public statement, and they were like, hey, no, 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 you cannot do that. Mineral deals, separate. Health deals, separate. Like, it's so on brand of the United States to try to trick you into signing the both of them. What does mineral and healthcare have to do with each other? Copper is completely different from health, drugs, viruses, research, DNA, etc., etc. Those are completely different things. Then we have Zimbabwe that had to pause negotiations, saying that they're going to discuss later. No one knows when that later is. Kenya apparently signed a 5-year plan, $2.5 billion agreement with the US. They tried to implement it, but apparently it's currently blocked in court. I will probably do some research on my own, but you should. There's a lot of things going on in Kenya right now. When I am recording this video, it is post President of France interrupting Africa Summit to say he's Pan African. Yeah, I'm gonna make another video to talk about that entire fiasco. I don't want to laugh today. I want to be a lot more useful. I want to give out information. That's what we're doing, so we don't end up wasting time here. Okay, so let's get back to the reason we're here today. Okay, so for the second part of the document, which is still like under study, because some of these things sometimes they will tell you exactly what they're going to do, but because we don't read in between the lines, they would tell it to you in glamorous texts, in glamorous terms that they manufactured. But you have to have an anti-imperialist mindset to be able to construct certain things. Okay. So let's get into the first part of the second part of the video of the document. So, starting from monitoring systems, the United States said that they're going to work with each country to develop a streamlined approach for ensuring robust performance monitoring. And they did say that they're going to be focusing monitoring data in 4 areas. That is service delivery, epidemiology, supply chains, and co-investment. They said they're going to be monitoring epidemic control, which focusing on HIV, while focusing on HIV, malaria, tuberculosis, polio cases, death, and all geographical major categories. Basically, the diseases and viruses that are rampant in sub-Saharan Africa. Then they talk a lot about supply chain and also co-investment. I'm getting to that co-investment part because you have to stay to the end of this video to get everything. This is the part that really interests me. Okay. So there is something called leverage. In documents it talked about leveraging on faith-based organization. So US said that these faith-based organizations, like hospitals and clinics, they're very, very meaningful part of the health delivery system in so many countries, so many African countries. And they cited some examples where some faith-based providers are represented. They mentioned that there is over 50% of delivery capacity in Eswatini and over 40% in Uganda. They also cited that these faith-based organizations have 20 plus years track record of partnering with the US government to deliver health and foreign assistance. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? I mean, I can believe that because we all know what NGOs be doing here. So I'm gonna put up a table where they mention some countries and their faith-based facilities and their reach also. And I guess they're doing this to promote their Christian nationalist ideologies off the American shores as well. But of all the countries featured on this table, the first 2 countries have rejected this deal, and one of them is pausing negotiations until further notice. I'm talking about Zimbabwe. Zambia has already pulled out. Zimbabwe is saying that they're no longer going to be negotiating until further notice. Now we're going to go into the co-investments part of it, and you really do need to pay attention here. So, with USA's, the United States supported several countries without publicly requiring commitments from the recipient countries. And I say publicly because they may have asked for something, but we don't know about it, right? So they didn't publicly ask for anything, but now they're saying that they're going to be changing things this time. They want to provide these assistance through multi-year bilateral agreements between the U.S. government and the recipient country. So it's not going to be like a group deal where everybody signs. It's going to be U.S. and this country, U.S. and that country, U.S. and this country. So like multiple bilateral trades. And I think some Pan-Africanists have talked about how dangerous that is because sometimes people need to realize that there's certain things that Africa needs to decide together as a continent and say no to, not just like pulling unions aside and like, oh, I'm going to deal with this, I'm going to deal with that. There's certain things you do that way, but then there's certain things you don't do that way. So aside from that, what else did they even say again? Let me read my script. Oh my god. Sometimes I forget that I wrote certain things and I just like start talking from my head, and then I forget the thing I actually wanted to say, which I actually wrote down that I was gonna say. But yeah, they said that this agreement requires both parties to follow through on key terms that may not have been disclosed yet. Uh to unlock future funding from the United States. They also said that the agreement will vary in different countries depending on the context. You may be wondering, what context? Well, they listed it out joyfully. I told you they say everything they want to do. They say it's right there in plain sight. So the context here is going to include the country's income, the disease burden, and also the political stability of the country. So what this basically means is it's a bilateral health deal, right, between two countries, but the deal is not going to be the same in every country. So based on their context, they can decide on whether the deal is worth more or worth less. But basically, they hold all the cards in this way. So as if that was not enough, the US also said that they're going to be employing dedicated staff members in each countries with significant foreign health assistance to focus on validating and auditing data that's going to be collected from all of these countries. Can you believe that? Like, oh my god. And I'm sure that they're also going to require a base of operations, which will need to be built from the money that they will be given to these countries, which means that the US is going to have staff working in all of these countries. Okay? So now, oh, it's dead already. These staff members will also be responsible for ensuring compliance with all the rules and regulations, which includes compliance with Helms Amendment. I feel like highlighting that part. I don't know if I highlighted it and did a screenshot. So what is the Helms Amendment, you may ask? The Helms Amendment is a U.S. law that was passed in 1973 that restricts American foreign aid money to be used in relation with abortion out of the country. It was kind of introduced during the after the Roe v. Wade decision in the United States. I'm guessing with the whole drama that happened a couple of years ago, where people were like, oh, Roe v. Wade got overturned and all of that. So the amendment basically says that U.S. foreign assistance funds cannot be used to, one, pay for the performance of abortion as a method of family planning, two, to motivate or coerce any person to practice abortion. Yeah, so that's what the Helms Law is. The rest of that to me, oh, it kind of sounds like you're trying to impose your own country's law on a foreign land. But to be honest, that maybe that's just me. Okay, maybe it may not be you, but if it's you, you can let me know in the comments. Okay. So the rest of the document kind of talks about similar things, but that is it for the rest of the document. If your country has signed this deal with the United States, then you have to pay attention, because this can affect you and everyone that comes after you. Since it is still in the early stages, it is still possible to be restricted or to push back at it to some degree. So always do your research whenever you hear that there is a deal being signed between your country and another country, especially if these countries have a history of being colonialist, aka France, the UK, America, all those countries. Yeah, they always want something. They always want something. We're gonna get into the fan side of the conversation a lot later, but that is a wrap for this topic today. More feature I may do like some updates if they're like maybe there's something dramatic happening with certain countries turning it down or even accepting it, probably sometime in the future. I don't know. Well, there's an outbreak of hantavirus right now, and I still do not know how those people were allowed to go into different countries despite the fact that they were carrying a virus. Like they could have contained them in the ship, got researchers to. I'm tired of listening to whatever is flying around. It just feels like a bunch of rumors. I want to listen to qualified scientists who are literally qualified to speak on this subject. Okay, so I really hope that this video serve as a solid background to my African brothers and sisters, whether you're in Nigeria or another African country watching my video. If this video brought you here, you're welcome to stay. I do detail videos like these when I can because the research kind of takes a lot of time, and for me to like absorb it and then break it down to sound like it's gossip between me and you to basically de-stress a little bit. So other than that, I just have fun with my hobbies. I write, I talk about books, and I really want to do that a lot more these days. So thank you for watching to the end. Like and subscribe, and I'm gonna see you next time.